Hi, I'm Dr. Dan Ratner. As part of our Mind-Body Connection series, we'll continue to look more deeply at the 3 columns and their corresponding action steps. Today, we'll look at the importance of reaching for dreams and achieving results in the power column. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and I'll get back to you personally. And finally, the website www.crushingdoubt.org is up and running, and you can reserve your place in one of my seminars or get any of my PDFs on the site. When I was doing primarily long-term therapy, I developed a lot of ways to understand people and help them understand themselves. But one of the understandings I came to see led me to this saying. This is something I said to patients all the time. You have to dream it before you can realize it. What I meant by this was that a lot of people weren't realizing their dreams because they weren't even letting themselves have their dreams. And of course, I'm not talking about dreams like when you're asleep. Although actually there is a relationship to that, and I'll get into that in a bit. The whole idea was that people were just saying, I'm not getting what I want. But when I would ask them what they do want, they didn't have the specifics. They kind of had a general idea. But you have to dream the specifics before you can make it happen. And part of the reason for this is you have to overcome your ambivalence about it happening. So you want to put the dreams out there and start to look at them, start to try them on. So as I said, I meant this in terms of conscious fantasies, not dreams while sleeping. But then I noticed something interesting, and this informed me all the more about the importance of dreams. People who were getting better in the therapy work were having more dreams and better dreams. Very frequently, I'd be working with people who didn't remember their dreams at all, and as we talked about things, they started to remember their dreams. Even more so, as they started to work on these things, their dreams also got better. So I had always known that in psychology, dreams were regarded as wish fulfillments, at least in what's known as the psychodynamic tradition. The idea was that dreams were unconsciously you turning over the things that you wanted. And what I didn't understand was, how could this relate to nightmares? We have nightmares, so what is that? So what I came to understand about that is that nightmares are expressing the other side of the ambivalence. When you're lying there sleeping and having dreams, you are turning over in your head the things you do want and the ways that you might be afraid of getting what you want. And this is something that some people call two-way feelings, or some people talk about it as ambivalence. We've talked about the fact that on a different podcast, I mentioned that the unconscious has no opposites. It doesn't care whether things are opposed. It can think two completely opposing things at the same time. Well, that's how your unconscious sleeping dream life takes place. But as it turns out, your dream life in waking life is every bit as important, possibly even more so. So here's the thing. Having your head in the clouds doesn't always keep you from getting work done. In fact, sometimes it is the key to getting work done. Because if you're really going to build something, you have to dream it first. Let's talk about what I mean by this and how it plays out in your mental health. Fantasy is incredibly important. It allows for development. If you're not fantasizing, you're not growing. So here's the way you have to think about it. I talked about how dreams change as people get better. We talked about it as wish fulfillment. Again, I'm talking about unconscious dreams, but because dreams were getting better, what I mean by that is the wish fulfillment was getting closer. People were getting more of what they wished for in their, dreams while asleep. That showed that the fantasy led to development. In waking life, this is also true. You've got to try on a dream for a bit. It's going to be terrifying at first, but the good news is you don't have to enact it right away. By trying it on, the next day, it's not as scary. You can try on another part of it. When I built this podcast, the idea of doing the podcast at first was a lot scarier than it is now. I'm doing it. But I continue to dream. I continue to grow. That's the thing about fantasies. One fantasy leads to the next. But you have to be dreaming to make it work. And again, this time I mean conscious dreaming. So let's talk about this, how this relates to the power column. The core narrative tells you who you are, what you need, and how you plan to go about getting it. Okay, so we talk about it as the 3 sentences. In that first sentence, it's what happened to you that kind of made you who you are. The second sentence is what happened to you that had a big effect on you. And that's the sentence that tells you about what you need, because that's telling you what you didn't have. And the third sentence is, what are you going to do about it? So how do you plan to go about getting it? That third sentence is the dream sentence. That's the fantasy sentence. What's the aspiration here? The core narrative, though, doesn't answer what you want directly. It more talks about what you need. But what it does do is give you a chance to understand your desires more. Because your wish, your true wish, that big underlying wish, is always aligned with who you are at your core. This is why the core narrative is so powerful and opens up the power column, because it gives you your mantra of who are you in this world and how can you unleash you on the world. Doing that aligns you with your actual wishes. Let me give you a couple of examples so that you know what I mean. I like to make these things a little more concrete. If your core narrative involves wanting to be noticed, that could lead to a wish to become an actor or to strive for fame. It doesn't have to go that way. Or maybe to become an author that gets read, or to do a podcast, potentially. It comes from what we didn't have and what we wish we did. All about who we are. Wishing you could help the people who needed help in your life. That's how most people become therapists. That's how I became a therapist. I didn't know this so consciously, but I had wanted to help my mom through those tough times of losing her husband and having 2 young kids. I wanted to help my brother, who I knew was really struggling with a lot of things. Even though he took some things out on me, I wanted to help him. And I became a therapist. And that was one fantasy that then led to more fantasies. Feeling that things weren't done right can lead to a sense of moral justice or a wish to lead. I think a lot of people who go into politics, that's the initial impulse. A lot of them get corrupted by all kinds of things. We won't get too much into that. But the whole idea is who you are determines what you dream. To get better, we have to help you move on from old wishes and onto new wishes. The core narrative is about new wishes. It identifies what the old wishes would have been, and then that third sentence tells you, what do you actually want? There's a couple reasons, though, that your old wishes are not good to hang on to anymore. I'm going to tell you why, so that we can talk about how to move on to new wishes and why that's important. Your old wishes were based not so much on desire. They were based on need. It makes sense. You needed things. Things were dangerous. Things were hard. But there was no room for desire. It was all about survival and getting through trauma. These old wishes would have left you vulnerable, because the spectrum of what was available to you in these old wishes goes from profound and bitter disappointment at its worst to just relief that it wasn't that bad. That's got a pretty big cap on it, those wishes. It's not shooting for the stars. It's not really unleashing you. These old wishes depended on someone else also, who was invariably letting you down. The old wishes were all built in the struggles. These old wishes also did not factor in who you are so much as who you felt you should be. That's what's so great about the core narrative. It exposes who we thought we should be, and it brings to the surface who we are and what we need to do about that. So this means that in the language of old wishes, you were not really accepting yourself as you are. You were more thinking, how should I be? Another thing about these old wishes, they're not possible to realize. It's very good to dream, but it's not great to spend all your time dreaming about something that can't work. And these old dreams are, in fact, built to fail. They're a repetition of something you couldn't have in the first place. Moving to new dreams means accepting the fullness of your trauma, giving up those old dreams, and moving on to new dreams that are not only possible, but are phenomenal and very aligned with who you are. The old dreams lock you into the same patterns with other people. And perhaps most importantly, they prevent you from being able to have agency in your own life and an effective way to be happy. The power column does the opposite of that. It takes all the old wishes and says, nope, we're not doing that. We're going to start in on new dreams. And that's how you can be happy, because happiness is not about getting your wishes met. Happiness is about liking who you are. I'm going to say that again because it is definitely important, even though a lot of you know this, either through the wisdom of your own life and the work you've done, or maybe from hearing it from me. But happiness is not about getting your wishes met. It's about liking who you are, exactly as you are. So I'm talking about how important it is to like who you are. But here's the other thing. There's information in who you are. Knowing who you are tells you what you want. That's how you find out. That's why the core narrative is so helpful. By helping you understand your central story, where you are finally at the center of your story, it has it built in to be able to find your purpose. Everyone is here for a reason. I can't say what that is, and I'm not talking in necessarily like mystical or religious or even spiritual terms, though I think there could be something to that. I think more to the point is, if you live a life that is aligned with who you are, you're going to be happy. The purpose you're really here for is to do what you love and to do what makes meaning in your life. And you can only derive that from who you are. You can't follow in somebody else's footsteps. Your core narrative reveals kind of the broad picture of what you love. That third sentence in the core narrative, that's what tells you your purpose. Your body has been telling you your purpose. The power column is your purpose because it's the language of the body. And the body is saying what you are supposed to do is what you must do to become powerful. We don't really even have to choose it. It's us. As long as we can know it, then we're on that path. So this is the nature of the communication in the power column. The core narrative has embedded in it what you wish to be at your core. And it's by recognizing the wish, that actual core wish, and accepting the fullness of your story and who you are, that you can begin to dream. I cannot stress this enough. You cannot get any goal met without dreaming it. And that includes getting better from pain. You have to be able to dream it. Fighting doubt is a way to dream this, actually. But science and logic tells us it is possible. So this is the first step to making dreams happen, is to let yourself actually go there. Dreams don't just come true. They come true with hard work. But you have to know what those dreams are. And you have to accept the fullness of that wish. And you'll do that if you know how it's aligned with you. Once it's aligned with you, there won't be any conflict about dreaming. It will just become who you are and who you are meant to be. And that's how the power column really works. You let yourself dream in the right way, the way that it's aligned with you, and suddenly things start to become more possible, or at least seem possible, and it starts to build. So don't forget to dream, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and I'll get back to you personally.